Hello, welcome to Elles Place, and this is my guest, Tracey, and she and I are going to be chatting about a few different things, some bills that have been passed and other issues of importance to us, I'm sure of importance to you, otherwise you wouldn't be watching. So, what was that one bill you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to ask the citizens of Canada if they are aware of the possible dangers that the government is allowing to happen to our children in Canada. And I believe it's kind of exposed in Bill, is it C-70?
C-75.
C-75. And my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, you're wrong.
Wouldn't be the first time. And I'm always open to correction. They've lessened the sentencing for someone that can assault children, and that is in every way, whether it be rape, murdering a child,
kidnapping children under 16 and kidnapping children under 14 have been brought down from indictable offenses that were up to 10 years each, now 2 years less a day down to a fine, which this is disturbing that those two charges would be even included in that list.
Yeah. And the first thing that came to my mind, because I was somewhat personally involved in a rally, was for Tory Stafford.
It means a tremendous amount to Tory's family and friends that people have shown up. And thank you to the people that have organized this. It doesn't just happen, it takes organization. This matter is something that affects all of us. It affects us from deep in the heart. It's our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, and our friends. And what happened here is a travesty in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that Corrections Canada have made a mistake. And they need to recognize that mistake. I have been to a healing lodge, and I agree with the concept of the healing lodges for what they were originally set up for. I do not believe they were set up to handle people like Terry Lynn McClintock this early into a life sentence that was 25 years without parole. Convicted of the murder of Tory Stafford, she brutally assaulted another inmate in the prison that she was in. She has a history of violence, and if you went to the healing lodge and you seen what was there, that's not an appropriate place for her. Other people in there, I do believe, have some risk of being there. She's not been treated, she's not reformed, she's not healthy. And when you see that the people in Saskatchewan, in that community where the healing lodge is, they were protesting yesterday. You know we can all do one thing. Hello, Robbie. Welcome back to Oxford. The one thing that I would ask them to do is don't get mad, don't get angry, take out your pens and your pencils and write letters to the editor, write to Liberal members of Parliament. I can tell you the Conservative members of Parliament all feel united in this matter. It's one of my colleagues that's putting forth that amendment to the bill. Write to them and tell them how you feel. Write letters to the newspapers, letters to the editor, make it clear that we do not and will not accept this kind of treatment for people that are that brutal in our society. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the support.
All right, thank you, Mr. McKenzie. And next we'll hear from our Mayor, Trevor Birch.
I really wish I did not have to stand here today. Our community has been dealing with this for, it'll be 10 years come April. This is unacceptable. We are here today where justice was delivered through our court system. And because of the decision by Corrections Canada, justice is no longer being served. As I look out on the crowd and I see all the purple, I see a community that is hurting yet again. As you heard from our MP, talk to the parliamentarians that have been refusing to deal with this issue. Send them emails, phone their offices, contact Minister Goodall. He's reviewing things right now. Help him, encourage him to encourage his ministry and his colleagues to make the right decision so that justice can be upheld. My heart goes out to everyone in the community that this has impacted. And together, as you stand united, we can make a difference. That's what is great about being here in Canada. The government needs to listen to the people. You do not need to listen to the government when it comes to decisions that have been improperly made. Take your stand, do it peaceably, make sure you share it with your friends and neighbors and get them writing those letters, get them making those phone calls, and continue to wear the purple so that our community can heal yet again. And we want to make sure that this does not happen in other communities. The copy of the bill that's here, take a copy with you, look it over, and again, make sure you encourage others that are making these decisions to make the right decisions so that this type of travesty does not happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so we're going to have a couple more speakers. We're just waiting for them to trickle in right now. So if we just want to stand together and protest what we're here for. It's our country, Tory's law.
Yeah, it's totally different standing up in front of your community than it is a bunch of strangers. And I've lived and grown up in Woodstock, and I pretty much know a lot of the faces out here, and it's great to see the community out. I was telling a story yesterday on Parliament Hill, just briefly. July 15th, 2000, Victoria was born, and it forever plays in my mind because, you know, it's your child. Comes into the world, you hold it. I was sitting in a chair holding her, and I told her that I would protect her till the day that I died. And you can't understand the pain and hurt that goes through you when you realize that one of your air cups has been taken, like one of your children is gone. It's tough to deal with every day. It's sure I might walk up and down Dundas Street with a smile on my face, waving to everybody, yeah, I'm doing great, guys, but you know, in the background, it's killing me. On the inside, it's killing me. But each time I walk past one of you guys, and you guys give me support, gives me that much more strength to stand here and do what I want to do. And that's stand up to my daughter. protest in Ottawa. I wasn't expecting the support that I received and continue to receive. I just wanted to make note that I wasn't happy. Convicted killer was moved somewhere she doesn't belong. And I want to do everything I can to put her back because it's not right. Why should these criminals be able to live a better life than myself while I'm going through this issue? I've been trying to explain to a few different people too. I've received some messages where people say, I'm just one voice, what can I do? A month and a half ago, I was one person that read something or was told some information I didn't agree with. I told one person, she told another. A month and a half later, I have a nation of support. It just goes to prove that. It just goes to prove that one person can actually make a difference. As long as everybody sticks together and we come together on the same issue, it's clear right across Canada, this isn't right. Terry Lynn's got to go back to max security where she belongs. I guess I had a problem to do that right now. Yeah, I didn't really have too much more to say. I wanted to make sure I came out and thank every one of you for being here. I'm sure there's a lot of people that wanted to be here but couldn't make it. But no matter what, I'm not going to ever give up on this fight. My little girl Victoria deserves so much better, and she deserves justice. Thank you.
She was an 8-year-old girl that lived in,
Chatham?
No, she lived in Woodstock, Ontario, Canada. She was 8 years old. She was abducted after school by Michael Thomas Christopher Stephen Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintic,
McClintic, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And this little 8-year-old girl was abducted. She was assaulted by rape and brutally murdered with a claw hammer over and over to her head. And first Terry Lynn McClintic was released from prison and sent to a healing lodge. She is the one that held and struck Tori Stafford with that claw hammer and ended her life. And she was allowed to go to a healing lodge without notifying Tori's family, which is the law. They are supposed to notify the victim's family when someone is going to be transferred or released from jail.
Which they did after the press had already gotten hold of it, and then they pretty much had no choice but to tell him then.
It was almost, I think, a year later.
Yeah.
When he was finally notified. And him is Tori's father, Rodney Stafford. And then after we held a rally in Woodstock to insist that she be sent back to prison from this healing lodge, a matter of weeks later, he found out that Michael Thomas Christopher Stephen Rafferty, that raped Tori with Terry Lynn, was also released from his prison into a less
It's a minimum security.
a minimum security, and that again was without notifying Tori's family. So this change in Bill C-75 has somewhat of a personal attachment, a personal warning to me, because children are our future, and we all love our children. So I'm begging Canada to please listen to everything that has been changed or implemented in this Bill C-75, because it is a threat to our children. There's much more that has been, there's what, over 100?
There was 123 on the list that I got, but they said there was 132 that were fully. Now, I don't know if they all went through, passed, but the 123 did pass.
And if you're not familiar with Tori Stafford's case, you simply just have to Google her name, and so much comes up on her. And I think Elle is going to attach or include a video of her father talking at the rally I attended.
Yeah, and that too, how he was able to carry himself was amazing, because I would be losing it if my child had been taken from me like that, and I couldn't fathom even being civil in that situation. I would be F-bombing everything. And no, I mean, just think about it. I mean, to have your child taken from you and then find out it was in such a nasty, vile, violent, and sexually violent way. It's devastating. And, you know, I watch a lot of shows where that happens, and you can see the pain in the family, and I can't fathom it, right? I would be pretty upset, but he really held himself together well, and I think that's probably what got results faster.
Yeah.
Overall.
Well, in his, I'll say, speech at the rally, he mentioned how when Tori was born, he promised that baby that he would always protect her. And he said that was his way of continuing his promise, was to make awareness and to bring awareness to Canada on what happened to his daughter, and make sure things like C-75 do not happen. Are there other things on that bill that would harm our children, Elle?
Well, there's disposing of a child's body. Now, I don't know if that's in regards to what age limit that is or not. It just disturbs me, and almost like promotes people to kill their children and hide their bodies, kind of thing. And like, I don't know, that used to be a very, how do I say, looked down on offense, something that society really, was disgusted by. And now it's almost like they're trying to desensitize us all to this, so that it becomes a normal thing. And I think that's what disturbs me the most, because there's nothing normal about that, right? If your baby dies or something happens, then you at least get them to the hospital to get, everything dealt with properly, and if they can be helped or anything, I mean, but to go hide their body, I don't know, it's just pretty disgusting stuff in my books.
And I'm thinking it's almost contradicting to how they are, the Liberals and the NDP, what have you. Now they're all in favor for, as far as the abortion opinion.
Right up to trimester. Yeah.
So, okay, so it almost goes along with it. They are allowing you to get an abortion up to 9 months gestation.
Mm-hmm. And that in itself is also disgusting. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck between pro-choice and pro-life. Okay, I see both sides, so I don't really like taking a stance on that. But to kill a child that you've carried to gestation, right to 9 months, to me that's murder.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
a human being. The arguments can be made that a fetus is just a fetus, but I've seen fetuses that, actually my daughter's pregnant right now, and I've seen the ultrasounds back when she was, 11, 12 weeks, and you could see the head, you could see the hands and everything, and
And they're moving.
they're little human beings, and so at any point, no one can say that they're not people, okay? But to drag it up to the 9-month mark, it just opens the doors for people to go ahead and take advantage of that. And what is that saying for our society? Like, baby is something that is given to you by God, okay? The ability to have, because there's people that can't have kids, and they would love to have kids, so why not have the child and put it up for adoption than to kill it, okay? And I guess in some instances I'm okay with them if the mother's going to die if she has the baby or something like that, or if it was a child of rape. I can kind of sympathize with that. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying as a person I can sympathize with those things. But just because you didn't use contraception and you were careless, that's not a reason to get rid of a baby, okay?
Yeah.
And I think there should be circumstances as to what's allowed in that regard. But like I said, I'm kind of on both sides. I believe.
And personally, I'm on the fence as well as far as the abortion topic. But if we're going to have abortion legal, it should definitely be long before 9 months gestation. Even if it was at 4 months, it's still not, I'm still not saying that is right, but at least it's not so much, I'm not even going to.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard subject to touch.
But I'm on the fence as well.
Yeah.
There are reasons that maybe some people do need them, but as far as using it simply for a form of birth control, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
That's called close your legs, girls.
Yes.
There's contraception.
Say no.
There's a lot of ways not to get pregnant if you use those ways.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to be lazy, spread your legs and get pregnant, then really you should have to carry that child. At least if you don't want it, adopt it out. There's so many people who would love to have children.
So many options for unwanted children. There's so many options in Canada. Like, there's so many, like Al mentioned, there's so many families that cannot get pregnant. Mm-hmm. So they get on the adoption list, and what I see quite often, not that there's anything wrong with that, they can't find children in Canada to adopt, so they're adopting babies from overseas. So there is the need here for those unwanted children, because they are wanted by somebody. So I just beg you, before you do choose an abortion, to look at all the avenues. But the bottom line is, aborting a 9-month-old gestation baby,
that's murder.
It's murder.
It's murder.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And our government is saying this is okay. You can do it.
Yeah, well, that's liberal, right?
Liberal, and do other parties get to vote on these issues?
I think normally the party in opposition does, but I think because he has a majority government with the Liberals, I don't know if they actually get a chance to vote on a lot of the stuff, or if their votes would even matter anyway. Trudeau has his cabinet locked, cocked, and rebucked, and they'll vote for anything he says, basically. Except the other night with Bill 74, there was some of them that were questioning that. But that's another video. I already did a video about that. But some of his people did question what he was doing, putting part of the criminal code into a spending omnibus bill, okay? But that bill was also the bill that fucked Alberta up with the pipelines. So, I mean, Bill 74 is bad in many ways. but that's what they do. They slip these things in. Obama used to do it all the time. They make these 2,500 page bills and then give it all these people at the night before they're expected to vote. And how do you read through all that in that short a time, right? You would need weeks and weeks and months to read through that. So, no, yeah, Trudeau gets away with way too much in my eyes.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm not for one certain party, personally. I used to be. I used to be a full NDP supporter until I took a look at their actual platform back in the last provincial election in Ontario. And to me, it was shocking that their values and morals were such the opposite of mine and basically all my friends, and I didn't vote. It was the first time in my adult life that I did not vote. And now, because I'm not a certain party, I'm really wanting to learn more, and Elle has educated all of us so much on these bills and the changes on the bills. And this is the one thing, our children, that I thought no matter what side you are, right, left, on the fence, our children's health is number one to all of us. So I guess my message is almost more to the people that do support the Liberals. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not telling you who to vote for at this present time. But please just listen to what the Liberals are allowing to happen to our children.
And look at their platform. See if it really is what you want for the country. And not enough people do that. You have to look at the platform of every party and pick the best one. And you're not going to vote for the same party every year if you do that. But you know what? You shouldn't be just voting for the same party every year, because
Absolutely.
parties are being corrupted.
And not only that, times change and issues change.
Yeah.
So one election, the pendulum might need to swing the other way, right? With the certain issues that are going on in our nation. So you might, if you normally would vote PC, for instance, and that is who is in, and certain things are happening that you don't agree with, well then swing the pendulum the other way. But right now, it's so extremely to the left. We need a huge swing to the right to stop these crimes being normalized.
The treasons that these governments are committing, and then that goes for the PC government as well. We need to go back to normality, and I see the world as a pretty messed up place right now, but Canada is like it's never ever been, and I think you feel the same way.
Absolutely.
We're watching things that you would expect to see in a fucking Hollywood movie, not in our country. And I don't know, I'm just really, really overwhelmed by all these bills they're signing in stealth without giving us any say or any warning, without letting us see the content of these bills. They're passing. And that is treasonous in my eyes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is happening because too many of us we're busy in our lives, raising our children, working, paying our bills, and we just don't have the time to pay attention to what's really happening. So they're slipping all this stuff by us right in front of our eyes. And so many people I know, and I used to be like it as well, say I'm not political, I don't pay attention. It is so vital right now in Canada to please at least open one eye to what is going on and just listen. If you don't believe it, research it yourself. See if there's truth in it. don't listen to just me or Elle.
No, go to the government website and look up
Yes.
the individual bill. Or you can just go to Google and type in bill this or bill C that or whatever the bill is. You can get the text on that bill. But it's right there, and it's on the government website, so you know it's real. It's not, made up by some YouTuber or something.
Yeah.
So go to the sites. She's right. Tracey's right in the fact that you have the access to the information. The internet is the information highway. Use it. Mm-hmm. What we want to do now is kind of move into a different topics. We want to kind of go over some words and what they mean, because the press has been using the word nationalist against us. And personally, there's nothing wrong being a nationalist, but the problem is they're throwing the word white in there. And that's kind of labeling all of us. And the Yellow Vest movement itself is not white nationalists, but they are nationalists, right? So we have to kind of we want to kind of go over these words so that people know exactly how they're being manipulated by the mainstream media.
Their true meaning.
The true meaning, exactly.
So I want to start with referendum. And at this point, I'm going to make it quite clear that I am a Yellow Vest of Canada. I proudly wear that vest. And I am also a member of the RIC, R-I-C, referendum initiated by the citizens. But I have found at the rallies, I hold a sign that says referendum. It's also in my back window of my car. And people, I can tell they don't know the meaning of that word just by them simply looking at the sign. So I want to make it clear what a referendum means. And again, this is my interpretation of the word, and correct me if I'm wrong. A referendum means that we, the citizens, have the right to vote on everything that is brought into Parliament, whether it be this bill C-75 issues against our children. We would have the right to vote, each one of us, to vote whether we are for that or against it. So this is what I personally feel, and the RIC feels we need. And this is not just in Canada, it's global wide. And for the Yellow Vest to be global wide, over 50 countries, that should set off a huge red flag. Something is wrong in our world for Yellow Vest to be in over 50 countries. Because the Yellow Vest is purely the citizens of the nation that are fighting the corruption in our government, and we are trying to bring awareness to other citizens on these issues. That's simply all the Yellow Vest is.
You can take to the word referendum as in when Quebec wanted to separate, and they had a referendum in Quebec. I don't think it was Canada-wide, I think it was just in Quebec, but they gave Quebecers the choice to choose. And so that's basically what a referendum is. It's giving the citizens, as Tracey said, the right to choose whether we want this or not. And that word seems to be lost with the government.
Yes.
Because of the globalists. We'll get into that in another video.
Yeah. So I would think that a referendum is exactly what we would all want. Mm-hmm. Because no matter whether you are Liberal or are PC or NDP, they all think they talk for all of us. But how many can you truly say every decision, whether it was Harper, whether it's Trudeau,
or if it was Chrétien or Paul Martin or any
exactly,
of them.
Have they always made and spoke what you wanted 100%? I don't think anybody can say yes.
No, and the only last Liberal government that I voted in was Chrétien, and like I said, he didn't do a great job. He got us through that time and era, but he didn't do anything spectacular. Yeah, not in my eyes. Like he made it sound better when he was on the election trail that I have the plan, I have the people, and but nothing substantially happened. Canada just continued on. It wasn't like, and he played into the globalist hands, and I just found that out in the last couple of years that he too was a globalist. But the problem is they are forced into globalism because the globalists can have our country taken over just like that. Okay, so they're threatened. But the point is, there's a candidate now who's willing to kick the globalists out of our country, who's willing to kick the lobbyists out of our government. And that is exactly what most Canadians want. We want our country back. We want our sovereignty back. And there's another word that you wanted to go over.
Yeah, but I want to finish on referendum.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So because our politicians are not saying what we want, and I think every one of us keeps saying they're all the same, they're not going to change, that's why we need a referendum, so we have the power to vote on the issues and get what we want. Let's not leave it up to these politicians. Give ourselves, the citizens, the right to vote on what we want.
Yeah, I agree fully.
Yeah, like how can anybody be against a referendum, wanting to vote on something?
Well, Trudeau.
Anyways, Al just started to talk about globalists. So let's tell them what a globalist is.
Okay, well, from what I know of all my investigations, globalists are people who are the elitists of the world. Okay, they are the richest people on the planet. And what they want to do is they want to control the whole planet through a one world government and a one world religion. That was known as the New World Order, and people would laugh at you if you would say that. But it's very true, and they now admit it, that they want the New World Order, the one world government, and that's what the UN is really set out to do, is to initialize the one world government and one world religions. So many people think the UN is a good thing, but they're not. But the globalists they're control freaks. They're just rich people who want to control and enslave us all and make money on us and make money on our misery, okay? Look what they've done to Europe. Look what they've done to the UK. Look what they've tried to do to places like Russia and other countries who stood up to them. And now that if you'll notice, everyone's always saying, oh, Russia's bad, but truthfully, Russia's better off than we are, okay?
They have a leader that actually cares for their country.
They have a leader who kicked the Rothschilds and the globalists out of their country, seized their banks, and now that's why they're being talked down about by the globalists, because they won't play ball.
And also, he banned any Monsanto, GMOs, so GMOs. He is honestly looking out for the health of his citizens.
And he will not let a Muslim invasion happen in his country either. Actually, a bunch of Muslims come over the border, and the Russian guys took their shirts off and beat the crap out of them and sent them running, okay? That's what Russia is. Russia is a nationalist country, and I applaud them. I applaud Putin. I think Putin's an amazing leader, and I wish we had such a leader, truthfully.
Now we touched on nationalism in there, so let's explain what nationalism means.
Well, why don't you give them your
All right, my interpretation of the word nationalist, I consider myself a nationalist. I am somebody that my top concern has to do with my own country. I'm all about helping anybody else, but I feel we must take care of our own issues, our own country. There's so many things in Canada that are wrong. Like, for a first world country, we should not have homelessness. We should not have disease. We should not have people struggling in any way to survive. We are supposed to be a rich nation. We should all be living comfortably. Comfortably. I'm not saying rich, but comfortably, not struggling to either decide if we're putting food on the table or paying the gas bill for heat. We should be able to work our 40 hours a week and comfortably be able to pay our bills and buy our food.
And have a few bucks to throw in the bank, maybe.
Or even spend to create an economy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
How many people cannot go out shopping literally just to buy a coffee or to buy a new shirt? All those things that we buy with our money build our economy. It creates jobs because products are needed, services are needed. It creates jobs. So by them making us slaves, basically to their system, we don't have an economy.
No. We are, everyone's hurting right now. And, people I knew that were doing really well off a decade ago are now in the position, like Tracey said, having to decide whether they're going to pay the hydro or feed the kids and have food. A lot of people have now gone to wood heat, and now they want to ban wood stoves. It's like they're squeezing us, and they're squeezing us, and we can only take so much. We have to be able to get by, okay? Yes. And it's like when you're in a battle, say a divorce battle or something, and they garnish your wages. If they garnish too much of your wages, you're not going to be able to get by, which means you're not going to be able to work. So, it just screws everything up. So everything has to be in moderation. It just seems right now these governments are squeezing us so bad that even people who work hard and get well paid are struggling, and that shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. So anyways, to kind of go back on what nationalism means, basically, let's take care of our own, get our issues taken care of, then absolutely, let's reach out and help those others.
Yeah, but I believe in closed borders. I believe in vetting people that come here. And to me, that's all part of nationalism, because we care about this country. We don't want criminals. We don't want terrorists. We don't want, pedophiles and other undesirable people. So that's what vetting is all about. And to me, vetting and closed borders go together. And you now get called a racist if you want vetted migrants or immigrants and closed borders, okay? When was that ever being considered racist?
Right. Now, can you explain what you mean by vetted?
Well, vetted just means that they check this person's criminal record. They check out their basic life history to make sure that they're not undesirable, okay? Now it would probably go into also financial status and stuff because of how our world is going, but vetting is just making sure that this person is okay, and maybe making sure that they work instead of lounging on welfare and stuff like that.
Almost vetting, like a police report on someone applying for a job.
Yeah, vetting can cover so many different things, and that's the thing. But I think it's an important thing not to just have people walk over the border and we not know who they are or what they might have done or what they might do here.
Or even what diseases they're bringing into our country.
There's another one, there's health issues and stuff. So yeah, vetting can cover a lot of different avenues.
So that kind of takes us into the word immigration and migration. There's a huge difference. As speaking as a yellow vest, we are 100% supportive of immigration. We are against illegal, or what now they like to call irregular immigration.
Migration.
And we are against mass migration, the UN mass migration, because those are the ones that are slipping into our system without being vetted.
Unvetted, yeah.
They're unvetted, so they're not being checked. Their histories are not being checked. We're just welcoming them in, anybody. Mm-hmm. So they could have disease, which is a threat to all of us. They could be terrorists, and we do have terrorists in Canada, and this doesn't have to do with the color of somebody's skin. Like, that's ridiculous, because there's There's white terrorists. There's yellow terrorists. There's red and green terrorists. Like, it doesn't go
It's
along
not-
with
it's
a
not
race
to color.
or a
It has
religion,
nothing
you know?
to do with color at all.
Absolutely not. In my opinion, Dick Cheney is one of the largest terrorists in the world, and he's white.
And I keep getting afraid that Rosie O'Donnell's going to sneak over the border to here. I'm sorry, I hate that woman with a passion, and she is one of these slip-tongue people who wants to force us into this mass migration thing, but she will not take any into her house, okay? All these ones that say no walls, no borders, have mansions with all walls and borders around them, and not one of them
Fences.
has any migrants or immigrants in their houses, okay? Hypocrites. Rosie O'Donnell's one of the worst hypocrites out there, her and Madonna. I'm afraid of terrorists, and that's why I don't want Rosie coming over here. Or what's that douchebag that does movies? Who did Fahrenheit 9/11?
Oh, Michael Moore?
Michael Moore's another terrorist. We don't
This is
want.
all new to me. I'm learning.
Keep them in the States. We don't want them. But no, it's you know, there are a lot of people who are confused with the word immigration and migration. And migration is basically being forced on us, and this is mass illegal and migration, and that's what the people have to realize of that word, illegal. Okay, Trudeau can change it to irregular, but that doesn't make them legal. Okay, if people rob banks and call it irregular withdrawals, does that make it right? Probably not. So why does it make it right for a politician to do this without our say, without asking us? It's, you know, but immigration is a whole different story. Immigrants come here, they are vetted, they have to apply to get in, they have to have their own money to get by on if they're not going right into a job and stuff. I mean, they have to have security. And I know that for a fact because I had a couple of friends try and immigrate here, and they couldn't because they didn't, and they have to have a supportive, like a church or
A sponsor,
a sponsor, like a law-abiding family who have no criminal records and stuff like that. So there's a lot of requirements. But with migration, they just walk over the border and they're given citizenships and all kinds of perks.
Yes, and with migration, they're labeled as sort of who we're helping come out of a terrorist country kind of thing. And when they register themselves as a migrator, we are giving them everything they need. We're giving them $50,000 just to enter our country as a gift. We are giving them $3,000 a month to live on. Remember, these people have never paid a penny in Canadian taxes, okay? But our vets that died at war or got injured at war, willing to lay their life on the line for us, are living on the streets, okay? Please remember that. Huge difference. So these migrants are getting $3,000 a month.
Hotel rooms.
They're getting their boarding paid for.
Yeah.
So their hotel rooms, their meals, they're getting their health care paid for 100%, which includes, say, pharmaceuticals, which includes dental and eye care, free glasses. Do you get free glasses? Do you get free dental? No? No. So, again, why are we giving more to someone that's not a Canadian citizen, but yet we're allowing our vets live on the street?
In the winter, in the cold.
Yeah. And our children, you know, if they need glasses, they're not getting them for free. If you got to take your child to the dentist, they're not getting that for free.
Not unless you're on welfare or something like that. Then
Yeah.
it's paid for, but it's paid for by the taxpayer. That's not free, okay? And that's what I mean. These people come in and get everything free, yet they've never paid a dime into this economy. They've never, like Tracey said, they don't pay taxes, and they're probably exempt from paying taxes. So we really need to
Maybe.
scrutinize this, and the difference between immigration and migration is a very important difference. It's not a fine line. It's a big difference, and that's, and like I said, as a yellow vester, I have no problem at all with immigration. My problem is with this mass migration, because that again is being forced on us by the UN, which is another element that we're fighting with the yellow vests. Okay, so but those are two important words with a huge difference between them, and some people kind of think they're the same thing, but they're not.
Think back years ago when the United States, when they were recruiting armies, people to join the army, was the saying not what can you do for the country?
Not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Absolutely. So don't you think that immigrants that are coming over, that have an education, that have maybe some wealth and want to build a corporation or something in Canada, absolutely come on over, because you know what, that's going to create jobs, that's going to create economy in our economy. But when we're accepting these people that are migrating, and of course again, if they are coming from like a horrific country, and okay, let's help them, but
coming from the U.S. is not coming from a horrid country.
No.
And it's not escaping any form of torture or...
And anybody that's coming over in a state of emergency doesn't have suitcases full and cell phones.
And nice haircuts and nice clothes. And
Right. So, we got to really open our eyes to everything that's going on, and these words that are being twisted and used in their convenience and twisting from what the truth is of the meanings of the words. So I just thought those were a few words that people misinterpret or don't understand.
Yeah, and like I say, a lot of people think immigration and migration are the same thing. They think that immigrants migrate here, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And, that's why we wanted to kind of go over those words.
Yeah.
And explain the difference. So to those who don't know, I think a lot of my subscribers already know. But to people who are watching, maybe for the first time watching Elles Place, you can subscribe below. That's we wanted to reach out to you to tell you the difference, so that you're not just thinking, oh, they're racists or whatever. That's not what it's about. It's about the difference in how people come here. And Canada has always vetted people. Canada has always had closed borders, and we were never called racist. We never called ourselves racists. And now it seems they're turning people on their own country, okay, with their little word games and doublespeak. So that's why I felt when Tracey suggested to talk about those two words, I thought it was awesome, because I hear so many people confusing the two. And,
And if I was a racist, I'm a yellow vester. If I was a racist, my son would not have native blood going through him, right?
Exactly.
He has native blood going through him.
And I'm a product of
And French.
of two immigrants who immigrated here legally, and so I know most of this country, other than the native, the Aboriginals, the First Nations, we are all from somewhere else. Okay, we all came here, but we didn't migrate here. We weren't given welfare. That kind of stuff didn't exist. You had to work your ass off. The Italians and the Chinese that came over here, and the Japanese, and they worked their ass off building the railways and all these bridges and stuff, the infrastructures and stuff. But they worked. They didn't come here to sponge, okay? Unlike today, we have these people coming over here to live free off of us.
And they're laughing at us because we're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, our government is. I don't see many people who are going to put up with it personally, but...
And again, that goes back to a referendum.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we should have been given that choice before they started bringing people over here.
Yeah.
Like I said, he handed our sovereignty over to the UN, who is an unelected body, by the way. They're just globalist puppets who were put in place to look official, okay, to people who don't know better. But our sovereignty is now in their hands, and those are the ones who want to push all these migrants over here and have all this mass illegal migration to all countries. It wasn't just Canada. They were doing it in the U.S. until Trump got in. They did it all over Europe and France, and look what happened to Sweden, Germany, all these countries that have been ruined by this mass illegal migration is now happening here, okay? So it's not like we're just saying we're the only victims of this. This has been going on since 2010. France finally exploded. They had enough, okay, because of the after effects of this mass migration, which is everything costs too much money, the cost of living, food, gas, everything, taxes. They came out with their paychecks gone after their paychecks paid everything, and they were still owing. They snapped. They had enough, and that's where the yellow vests started, okay? It was in France. So, and a lot of people might not know that.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
What is the meaning of that word?